What's going on, ESGN Nation, and welcome back to another episode here of the Highland Scotties Team Builder Dynasty, as we're back here for the final 10 players that you guys have submitted. Of course, there's a couple that myself and some other friends of mine have submitted here to this series, as we're looking at more of your prospects. These are your prospects profile that will be added to this year's board here in the Highland Scotties Team Builder series. So, welcome back to NCAA here on ESGNet. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoying these so far. They've been fun putting together. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to also hit that bell notification so you guys be notified of the channel. And also hit that like button if you guys are enjoying and, of course, listen to what's going on here. So, we're going to get back to the board. If you haven't seen the previous, or at least part one of this these videos here, for this upcoming recruitment for this season, definitely check it out. I'll leave a link there above the eye. Not to mention, there's a link there where it says previous episode, and you guys can click on that link and check it out for the previous episode of this little quick little thing, quick little videos here talking about some of the players, give you guys an idea of what these players are like and what we're kind of looking for, and of course some of the players that you guys submitted, of some really decent backgrounds, decent stories about some of these players that we could possibly go after coming up here for next season. Now, of course, this next season we gotta, we're working on trying to get the offensive line better here, and there's a pretty decent offensive line players out there. We'll talk more about those in future Scotties Sports Talk updates as we go throughout the season. But today we're just going to talk about a lot of these positions are really skills positions: your wide receivers, quarterbacks, halfbacks, a few defensive guys here, and we're actually going to get to one of the quarterbacks right now, and he's also another local kid. We got a lot of local kids in this group of players this season that I think it's going to be really cool to see, because we're starting to get more buzz attention, at least locally. And then, of course, there's some couple areas. Of course, Coach Teddy Bonds is well known in the NCAA community as a really good team builder. Because that's what this series is about. And of course, he has a lot of connections through Texas, Florida. The big states there that produce a lot of football players in those big, 5A schools there in those different states there. So I believe I think we may have gotten one new pipeline this year. I'm not sure who it is. I might have to go back and look at it, but I'll definitely let you guys know in the next episode, the next Scotties Sports Talk update, which here in a couple weeks. But yeah, let's go ahead and believe the first quarterback we will be looking at is a young man by the name of Caden Moore, I think it is, as I'm trying to pull up the file here on this young man. But yeah, there's some really good talented players. Like I said, you guys do a great job here submitting a lot of players this season, and I'm hoping, and of course you guys can submit more if you do want to be a part of the series, and of course be showcased in next year's class of players, freshman players that we want to have. And of course, if you don't have to be a freshman, you could be a JUCO guy, but if, of course, you want to stay in the series a little longer and know what's going on and be a part of something special, best bet is to be a freshman. Of course, 75 overall, freshman is not bad. You get a good chance to really grow your player here. So, like I said, the first guy we're looking at here is Caden Moore. He is from Independence, Kansas, and schools, of course, looking at him, of course, locally, Kansas State, and Missouri. He's a 6'6", 235-pound wide receiver / halfback, and this young man has a really good arm on him, but they call him around in his household BC, aka Baby Cakes. His mother said she had a hard time thinking of a name when she was giving birth to him. She didn't even have a name for him yet, but his grandmother, Renee Bolton, this was her first grandchild, coming into the world, and she called him start calling him Baby Cake. So kind of grew on the family, and of course eventually his friends found out, and so they at home and school now they call him BC. He just tries to avoid being called Baby Cakes, but BC, aka Caden Moore, has a really good arm. This young man, like I said, he also played halfback. He played halfback in his when he was in junior high, and even his the high school coach was very impressed with the young man playing. Actually, well, I should say not half. He played halfback in junior high, and then the coach, the high school coach, seen him play a couple games when he was in junior high, and there was couple plays there that Caden actually threw the ball, some kind of a little tricky little play with a halfback throwing in the back, little trick plays there, and he was throwing the ball pretty well. And of course they say, hey, have you ever thought about playing quarterback? So it wasn't really to his playing JV. He was a starting quarterback his sophomore year, and then became the quarterback his junior and senior year of high school, and has done very well. And of course, played in the state semifinals. Unfortunately, coming up short in that game, and they lost a really close one there. They lost by a field goal, and of course that was his junior year. Now his senior year right now, he's currently in, trying to get himself back to that spot there. Now, if you take a look there, he's also got some pretty good statistics in some defensive areas there. So maybe he could play on the defensive side of the ball if he needs to, or if he wanted to. He was junior high, they were playing both offense and defense there, and so he played a little bit of middle linebacker. I wouldn't think it would put him in that situation with him having a good arm, coming in as a next year as a freshman. Of course, he's been putting up some pretty good numbers. He's already broken 3 school passing yards, and he's also broken 2 conference records already just last year. He could be breaking those same 2, at least by a lot of predictions there from a lot of people. He could break those same 2 this year, and probably break a 3rd one, which I believe is a rushing title there. So he's going after. So really talented kid there. More of a pocket passer, but at the same time, when push comes to shove, he could get out of the pocket and take off as a scrambler. So there you see schools there: Kansas State, Kansas, and Missouri. And of course, I believe, well, you don't see it there, but we are. Coach Teddy Bonds has said he is interested in the young man. We actually find out that his uncle played for Highland before they became a AA school way back in the early 2000s, and his uncle played linebacker and also was a coach there, as a student coach there on the team, and didn't go to the pros, but was pretty successful in his broadcasting career, broadcasting actually some of the games there at Highland there for about 5 or 6 years there. So family has connection with the Highland Scotties there, and of course talking to Caden about that. He said he wouldn't mind following family tradition. His mother went there, his aunt went there, and of course several other cousins and other friends of the family have went to that school. And he said he wouldn't mind going to Highland, especially now as Highland's been really on that profile there. He said he wouldn't mind being part of that history and part of the special magic that's going on right now at that small community college. I guess you could still call it a community college, but a small college like Highland. He wouldn't mind. He knows that he would get some good playing time there, and I think he would. It wouldn't be a much of a logjam for him because we have probably about 1 or 2 players who would be ahead of him to make that start as QB. He definitely probably would get a start his second year. So we'll take a look at next player here. This is Jimmy Briggs. He is from Auburn, Maine. He's a left end, and he is 6'3", 260 pounds. And of course, Brigman was all defensive end in the state of Maine. You don't hear that too often about Maine producing football players there, but he definitely played football, and is looking to go to. He wants to kind of stay on the East Coast, but he says that going to the West Coast, there's some interest there. He was thinking maybe a couple of California schools. He has family that live up in the Pacific Northwest, so schools around in the Washington and Oregon area would definitely work for him. He says too, he wouldn't mind playing some D2. Also he's also looking at possibly not just D1 schools, but there's also D2 schools that he is looking at that he is interested in playing in. But this young man has he's a great player. I mean, he's more seen of a pass rusher than he is a run stopper. So he let's put pressure on the quarterback, and making some attempts at trying to give giving the quarterback a hard time there. He's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's there are 7. He has 6 other siblings, and he is number 5 of his siblings. His other 2 siblings, he's actually playing of course, his senior year. He's playing with both of his siblings. His last 2 siblings are twins, and they're both sophomores in high school. So he's really excited about playing with them. This will be his last year. He said he's glad that he had a chance to play 2 years with them. Of course, last year and this year, that they'll be starting up here pretty soon. He says he just can't wait to get on the field and pass the knowledge off to him. And oddly enough, they all play. The 2 younger ones don't play starting. They're starting on defensive line, but one is a linebacker and the other one is a defensive tackle. So we could see those two, the Jimmy Brigman's brothers, somewhere here in the near future, possibly if they make a lot enough buzz in these videos here. But there you see Brigman there, 3-star athlete, and there you see his number 6'3", 260 pounds. Pitt, North Carolina, like I said, he wants to stay on the East Coast. He's also looking at UMass as another school. But then, like I said, on the West Coast there, Pacific Northwest, be more precise, he's looking at Oregon State, and Washington there. So he has his dad's side of the family is on the West Coast there, and he said he wouldn't mind staying with family in that area, because he says family is important to him, and that's what he wants to do. So we'll see if we can try to track maybe Jimmy. Maybe we can get him to convince him maybe come to the Midwest and play for the Highland Scotties there. We are definitely looking for at least I think next season would be looking for a DN, as we do have some DNs that will probably be making their way out the door next season. But we'll definitely make a try and make an attempt at these players here. But he is not, we're not on his list, but right now. But things could change, and things can definitely go in our favor here if we can convince him enough to sign with us. And like I said, he definitely would be a guy that would be a quick, easy fit to the defense there, as we are looking for some more aggressive pass rushers for our game, as we're just trying to get to the ball. We've been very successful with the pass rushers we've had on our defensive ends, but we haven't had a good decent defensive end really until since Sheldon Sherman, and that was back just a couple seasons ago, really, actually maybe 2 seasons ago, that we had a decent decent end of any sort. So we're hoping that we can try to get that with Brigman. As we see now, as we get to the next player here, and we are looking at Quincy Hawkins, young African American male from the nation's capital, from Washington, D.C. He's a strong safety, and he is 6'8", 202 pounds. Wow, he is a big boy. He has a pretty good wing span of almost just about 8 feet or so. So he's a tall kid. He's a lanky kid, and they call him the Hawk. And of course, we asked him why that was the case, and he says it's just self-explanatory. I have Hawk in my name, and I ball hawk the ball quite often. Now he has several. He made actually his as a starter for his local high school there just in his sophomore year. He played a little bit in JV, a couple games there, and the coach was really pretty much convinced what this young man can do. And so the coach there at his high school said, "Hey, I want to go ahead and start you over the juniors that we have right now, because there's talent right there." So, his sophomore year, he made a start. Last year, he made a start. Of course, this year, he is going to, of course, make a start, and he is hoping to get his high school team, to win a championship here. And there's been a lot of buzz about him. He's been on a lot of different local television shows, both in the Baltimore, Maryland area, and he's been talked about quite often. He's actually been mentioned in a lot of top 100 high school defensive ends this year, and he's actually got another interview coming up with Fox Sports and a couple other media outlets about what he has done so far here. He's been breaking records, high school records now, and starting to set some new ones now. So this is a young talent. Of course, we are always looking for those second string guys. Not so much this year, because like I said, we have a lot of those guys already in our way. But this would be a guy I definitely I can see a top big school. I can see somebody within the Big 12 there going after this young man for that defensive help. But like I said, great kid. He's actually a talented DJ. He makes his own music, original music, stuff like that. And he's well known to really be the life of the party there for his football team. We actually got a chance to go to one of his games last year, one of the playoff games we went to, and he was pretty much the lightning rod for his team, and that's what you want to see there. You would think he's kind of that very overconfident, almost too confident of a player, but his parents, especially his dad, really grounds him. And holds him to the fire on what he needs to do on the field. It's always not about making big plays there, but it's just being there and just knowing when you need to be there to get those good plays. And this young man is very talented. 5-star player, Wisconsin, Iowa, and looks like an ACC school there, Clemson, looking at this young man. And I'm not gonna lie, honestly, we got quite a few guys in our secondaries, and not to mention we're bringing some of our wide receivers over to that to help us out in the secondary positions there for next season, because we got a abundance of wide receiver that could definitely play on the defensive side of the ball. But this young man, I can easily see he could be a Heisman Trophy contender, if not his first year, but definitely going to his second year. He could definitely be be in that Heisman talk and cause a lot of craziness for a lot of teams, especially there in the Big Ten. And to me, I mean, those first two schools there look really be a great fit for him, as they've been playing very well, especially Iowa. I mean, we played them last season, and they were just lights out. I mean, both sides of the ball, especially mainly on the offensive side of the ball, they did really well. But even on the defensive side there, Quincy could be just a great guy there as a coverage secondary there. He would definitely be a person that could really amplify that defense there they already have right now for the Iowa Hawkeyes there. So Like I said, not necessarily a guy we're looking for, but definitely a guy I think any of those three schools would be very good in. Clemson, we haven't seen Clemson play, at least in this series, play like Clemson like we have here in the recent, in the IRL here in this series. But they're starting to, fight back and come back as one of those powerhouses there ever since their quarterback and a couple other players have left. But they're starting to make that surge again, and they could make it with that young man, that being Quincy Hawkins. Coming up, it's Dayton Haywood, and Dayton Haywood is from Cherokee, Iowa, and he is a Midwestern kid, 6'3", 250 pounds, and he is also a defensive lineman. I believe he's a left end. Of course, he's a huge Iowa Hawkeyes fan. He's gotten offers. He was getting offers already from Iowa his sophomore year in high school. They were already talking to him already about committing that early. But of course, when that happens, and a lot of times these kids don't really have their head on straight there, especially when they're a sophomore. Don't realize the implications of something that they do now could have eventually affect them down the road. And of course, that was the issue that came about with Dayton, was the idea of Dayton getting in trouble with a DUI, and of course got in trouble with drinking and driving. So the University of Iowa had went ahead and took away his opportunity to be a part of their club. But they told him, if you get your act right, you get straightened up and stuff like that, then we could visit down the line. So great kid. I mean, since then he's really matured, and his parents really did a great job of getting him back in, and reeling him back in, and letting him know that that something like this is not to be taken lightly, and he has a great opportunity to play football for some really big schools. And of course, Iowa is one of those schools. Iowa most recently here has kind of re-offered him another chance to sign on the dotted line after taking it early. Offered him, like I said, a scholarship, and just in his sophomore year. So that tells you right there what type of athlete this kid is and what type of player he is. But also other schools like Wisconsin, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Missouri is also looking at him. So some schools there close nearby. He says, of course, he's willing to go anywhere and play at any stage of the game. But he really does says that he's, with his mom and dad helping him out, and close friends, have opened his eyes up about, the idea of, what he did, of the drinking and driving that he was doing, and of course could, possibly lose his life, and not to mention losing someone else's life for over something that's, not thinking straight and not thinking clearly as a sophomore in high school. He's grown up quite a bit here, substantially, and he knows how important that is when it comes to being in a big program like the three that you see there that are offering a scholarship, or at least want to look at him and want to try to get him to go to one of those three schools there. He knows how important it is right now. As you take a look there, pass rusher, 6'3", 250-pound kid. So he's a pretty big, good-sized kid there. But also he can play an interior, and he can also play a little bit of linebacker. So he's a little multi-talented, and play the line very well, pretty much anywhere on the line, but also can play that linebacker position, which would be, I think, especially for like schools like Wisconsin and Iowa, who are known for their linebackers. Well, of course, there are a couple of other DNs there, but Missouri would be a good spot there for them too, as they're actually program right now. It's kind of really taken over, and it's really started to blossom through there. So 3-star athlete, and like I said, there you see his squats and his all the other stats there for him. But yeah, he's a guy that even Coach Teddy Bonds is looking at, and he's talked to this young man about his habits and stuff like that. And as far as he was put in a alcohol drug rehabilitation program, and he's been sober for the last 2 years now. So, and he says that's something that's been helpful with, especially doing that, and of course with his help from his family, and of course his faith is helping along here. He hopes that he knows there'll be a lot of temptations when he gets to college, but he's hoping that he can overcome those by just really focusing on his schoolwork, and most importantly playing football. So best of luck to him. We'll see. Hopefully he'll be able to be successful and get a nice scholarship for any of these schools, really, any of those three, or especially for us, because that'd be a nice addition there to help us out there, as we are, of course, that's defensive line is one of those positions that we're looking at, not just the offensive line, but the D line is also one of those things that we really are trying to focus in on in the upcoming in this coming up this time next season. So we're hoping that we can basically just try to have some successful defensive players to help us out. All right, DeAndre Gunn is another player here from Abilene, Kansas. Another one actually not far from Highland, probably about a good hour and a half drive just west of Salina, Kansas, as I like to call middle of nowhere, no man's land. But he is what is he? He's a scrambling quarterback, and he's originally from Wichita, Kansas, but now, of course, lives in Abilene. And both of his parents were in the Air Force. They were stationed there in Wichita since he was 5 years old, and then decided to move away from Wichita. They want to have live in a smaller town and give him opportunities of getting a good education. So he ended up going just about an hour north of Wichita, Kansas, up to Abilene, and that's where he's been at. He's been playing football there. He loves, he's not a big fan of small town life, but he says that he's very blessed that his parents wanted him to try to find a place where they can have a good education. And of course, both his parents, like I said, were in the Air Force, and they were working there as engineers. So smart kid. I believe he was just made the before this school year ended, he was on the principal's honor roll for the first time. So that was a big thing for him. One thing he does not, and you can't really tell, is that he does have a slight case of autism. So, but he's a great player, and it takes him a little bit just to understand the playbook some, for the most part here. But he's been working at it, and he's been, like I said, a very successful kid, and he has been remarkable there on the football field. Here, you couldn't really tell that he has a intellectual problem with him, but for the most part here, he takes it with stride, and he just shows what he can do, and he does so there on the field. Just take a look at some of his attributes here, and of course, Coach Teddy Bonds, is looking into him as possibly maybe a kid that we can use, not just as a quarterback, but also he does have some traits in his wide receiver skill as a wide receiver. He may not be your top, he may not be your number one or number two wide receiver, but maybe up number three there. Of course, we can also find ways for him to play too, maybe even in the halfback position there. So he's a 4-star athlete, 7 foot tall, 220 pounds. Teams like Bowling Green, of course, Air Force, looking at him is another. So he could be going to the Air Force Academy. They were early offer there, and of course his parents were thrilled about it. For him, a little bit, but he says that's not necessarily he want to go to. But if the offer's right and everything, he would be willing to make that as a choice there for himself. But South Carolina is another one there for him, and like I said, very talented kid and whatnot. And we all, want to wish the best for him. If we don't happen to get him, wherever school he goes to, he's going to be a great player for them. And I think he will be another player that, like I mentioned, some others that we've mentioned here already. He could be one of those names that we could be talking about here coming up in the next 2 years or so when it comes to the Heisman race there, because they got some really good talent. They're really good talented kids, and there could be a huge future there for them. And so we'll see how that all comes about for DeAndre. So, but yeah, there you see the numbers there. Like I said, we're not on his radar, but we're going to try our best to, try to get him on his radar, get on his radar there, and try to be, try to convince him to maybe come to Highland, as he probably, definitely get some playing time there, and fight for a starting position. If not, maybe he can play his sophomore year. So, but there you see pocket passer there, and like I said, we're gonna do our best to try to get him on our radar, or at least get on his radar there. Okay, so Stu Graham is your next player here, and he is from Winnipeg, Canada. This is a rare. I don't think we've had a Canadian created player on this series since probably season 2, so it's been a while. But a right outside linebacker. He is 6'2", 230 pounds, run stopper, and of course there's some schools here. A couple of American conference schools are looking at him. But if we take a look here, we'll see he is a huge gamer. He loves live streaming, and that's one of the things that he loves to do and enjoy doing on his off time. He's been on the platform on Twitch for about 8 years, and he has over 5,000 subscribers supporting him. And of course, his dad has some football experience there. His dad was actually played some college football in Canada, and then was later drafted in the CFL, and did play in some hockey, junior hockey leagues growing up. He's comes from a very athletic school, and very talented group of individuals, and from a very talented family. His mom, she was actually on the Canadian women's hockey team a couple of years ago. So there is, talent among him between his mother and father. And Stu has just really fell in love playing football, and dreams about playing football in the NFL. He was actually a big fan, and he says he's hoping that they'll come back soon, and that's the XFL. He's hoping that they'll show up, because if things don't work out there, go play in the NFL, he definitely would love to go to the XFL and be a part of that, especially have a boss like The Rock. He would love to meet The Rock, as he's also a big wrestling fan. So hockey, football, wrestling, that's it's pretty Canadian there, especially with the hockey and the wrestling. There, there's a lot of wrestling stars that come from Canada, like Bret Hart and all that kind of stuff. Especially one of the biggest wrestling people that come from Winnipeg. Actually, two. There's two of them. One being Chris Jericho, and the other one being Kenny Omega. So This kid might, he's a talented kid. He's a big, huge specimen. 6'2", 230. I think he still is going to be growing. But you take a look at some of the schools. Cincinnati, Virginia Tech, and Arizona State are some of the schools that are looking at him. Like I said, we have not had a Canadian player, at least creative-wise, from here on this series. Probably, I want to think it's like season 2 when we had one. So it's been a while, and we'll see how things come about here once we'll see if we can kind of go after him. We're not on his radar there. He's, like I said, 3-star athlete, but we'll check in. We might make a couple offers at him and see if we can kind of go after him and make some kind of attempt to try to bring him in. But there you see, looks like Cincinnati really wants him the most, and we'll just have to see what we can do here and see what kind of what Coach Bonds can try to convince him to come to the school and stuff like that when it comes to our school, and try to do something with him. And actually try, outside linebacker, actually a position that we're actually doing pretty well in, I think. But like I said, be nice to have some more depth, have some depth in that position there to help us out. I think here probably the next 2 years, that's a position that we're really gonna have to grow here. So that's probably definitely somebody that we can try to get now and kind of help us out, especially if he doesn't play next year. Redshirt him, and then of course he'll play that following year, and really do some work for us there. So, but yeah, we'll see how he pans out here. And like I said, big. Like I said, he can take a hit because, like I said, he plays hockey. And of course, like I said, NFL is his dream. But if he doesn't make it there, then he definitely would like to continue football. If XFL or Arena League of some sort, to really continue his try to at least come and have his dream alive to play professional football. So we'll wish the best there for Stu Graham, and we'll hope we'll see what his next step is when it comes to continuing his athletic career in the collegiate level there. So coming up next is another linebacker here that we have coming up, and we'll see that young man here in just a bit here. So we're still looking at some of the numbers there. Like I said, Stu Graham, just talented kid there. About 73 overall. I think he might be a little bit higher there. Of course, we have not scouted him just yet. A lot of these players we have not scouted here. As you're taking a look at a lot of these players, this was taken before we started scouting. We'll see. Some of them will be on our board, some of them won't be. But like I said, we'll put them on our board, especially later in the season there if we're looking for some depth in some areas there. Because a lot of these guys will be probably not playing right off the bat their first year. They'll probably sit a year. Or if they're actually too good, they might, depending on where they go to, they might be sitting, taking a red shirt there next season. But like I said, there's some really good talent that you guys have submitted here this season, and it's been very pleasing to see some really good, well thought out players here, and just a lot of fun. Putting this video together and just doing what we've been doing so far here. But now we'll get to the next player that I've mentioned, and he's a middle linebacker. It's Royce Cooper from Ironwood, Michigan. And of course, growing up, he has been a Michigan Wolverines fan. And of course, that is his dream school to go to. He's lettered in all sports, football, basketball, baseball, and wrestling. And she's 6'10". Woo, wow. Big boy there. 265 pounds. And he's always wanting to do some of the athletic. He's always wanting to go outside. But he's also a hardcore Lions fan. He's a Detroit Lions fan through and through. And of course, we were kind of teasing him about that. We're like, the Lions have not been too well. It hasn't, not even when your dad was growing up. And he says, there's something about the Lions that is just very special. And, that's, one of the teams that he's always grown up watching, regardless, good years, bad years. And then, of course, he said that, his dream is to play for the hometown team. So he'll definitely like to play as a Detroit Lions if he ever got that opportunity. But he says that, first and foremost, his parents told him, hey, it's good to have dreams, good to have a focal point in your life. But they want him to kind of just focus on, really, besides the football, they want him to focus on his grades and do well, and then of course graduate from college. So that's what he's looking for, and of course he's looking for some decent schools that can help him out with both of those. And of course there's quite a few schools on this list. We'll see here in just a bit that I think will be really good for him. But just take a look there. Block shedding, pursuit's really nice, along with his play rec, and of course his zone coverage is wow. Good zone coverage there for him. Take a look at his man coverage there, also just as good. So he's really pretty good, good balance there of a player. And then of course look at his stamina and his injury, and he'll definitely be a player that would be on the field more or less quite often there. So he's pretty much a balanced. He can be either a good pass rusher or run stopper there. But he's pretty balanced there, and I think that's good to see. So he's got a good head on his shoulders there, and he'll be able to do a really good job there. I think as a freshman, I think he might even be able to sneak onto whatever school that's looking at him, and maybe even make the team and start off his freshman year. If not, then wow, I can only imagine what he'll be like after a year out and learning the playbook and what he needs to do for whatever school he's trying to go after. Now, Michigan is on his list, but at the same time, his dad says don't knock off any Michigan State offers. His mom went to Michigan, and of course his dad went to Michigan State. So you can imagine how the household is during football season. So there you see the three schools there: Ole Miss, Michigan State, Wisconsin. I believe even Michigan, I think, was in the top 4 with them when it comes to schools. So he has some pretty good offers there from a lot of different schools to pick from. And again, his education-wise, really good finding institutions that he could definitely go to get a good education, and of course have a successful football, collegiate football career. So Royce Cooper there, like I said, from Ironwood, Michigan, 6'10", 265 pounds, and just another talent there that we're looking at. You see there's a Wallace kid right there that we also have a target on, and we're looking at him also too. But we're also going to put Royce there on our list there. I know Coach says that, again, offensive line is one of those things that he is really trying to focus in on and try to make good on, because it's been long overdue since he's able to have a solid defensive line, or offensive line, because last couple of years now it's been kind of a patchwork type of deal. But also too, linebackers there, they come a dime a dozen. If you get a chance to get one, definitely have to go after them. So we'll try our best to see what we can do and try to convince that young man to come to Highland, Kansas there to play for us. All right, next up is Marco Van Zandt, as he is from Westerler, Rhode Island. I think I said that right, maybe not. But he's a smart kid. He's gonna possibly graduate as valedictorian coming up this next spring. But ever since junior high, ever since 6th grade, he's had a 4.0 leading up, and a very talented kid. And you don't find too many kids that are also not just book smart, but also football IQ smart. He's looking for challenges both in the classroom and on the field. And I think going to a not necessarily I guess a football type of school, but also too, he wants to go to a school that's known for their academics. So one of the schools I think he has on his list right now is Vanderbilt. So he's kind of looking at Vanderbilt being one of those schools that he can possibly go to and help out as a halfback, and that's the position he does play. So he has pretty good running abilities there. You'll see here in just a bit in his attributes there. But the kid has just really good IQ on the field and off the field. And of course, he has very good speed as you take a look there. Strength is not his quality, but he says that it's something he's going to try to work on over the course of over the season. But I mean, when you have speed and good hands and can run a decent route as a halfback, which you don't see that too often, you don't have to worry about strength too much. You're just too quick for anyone to really get a hold of you. But yeah, he is one of those players there. He has actually pretty good. He returned 4 kickoffs, or excuse me, 2 kickoff returns and 2 punt returns just last season. So not necessarily we ask him if he can compare himself, or does he seem like he compares himself to other greats in the NFL that can run back balls like a Tyreek Hill or several others that have done it in the past. And he says no, but he hopes to someday, would like to be on that level at some point. But right now he just wants to kind of focus on just being a good halfback here, and really try to help out the team as much as he possibly can. He wants to learn how to block in passing situations. He wants to be kind of a well-rounded offensive player that can play there on the in the backfield, or of course also to help out in the wide receiver area. So Vanderbilt are looking at him, like I mentioned earlier. Stanford, that's a good school they're known for their halfbacks, especially if you've been watching my series on ESGNet LP with the Stanford Cardinals. They've had a very successful and creative halfback core there, and then of course Cal is another one there that's kind of known for their halfbacks from here. Well, really known for their quarterbacks, but also too has a pretty good halfback coach there and stuff like that. So we'll see where he's going to be at. Looks like he's going to be probably more likely on the West Coast, as he's a East Coast kid. So bit of a culture shock for him, especially coming from one of the smallest states in the United States, that being Rhode Island. He will definitely have a hopefully he'll be able to adjust to all the craziness that happens on the East Coast. But of course, he could be there in the South there at Vanderbilt and have a successful career, and could really be one of those players that because he's a 4-star athlete, he could be turning around that Vanderbilt football family there, as that Vanderbilt's not really known when it comes to football. They're kind of seen as a joke in the SEC, but he could be one of those stepping stones that can kind of turn things around and kind of help out that program there, and start winning games quite often. So, but and really true, any of these players, anything's possible with these players that you guys bring in, because I've seen changes with a lot of programs with maybe 1 or 2 players that go to a certain program and they just blossom, and they get recruits coming in there. So we'll see how that goes with him, with Van Zandt. Now we'll take a look here, and I believe this is JT Del Rossi. He is from Park River, North Dakota. And it's a little small town in North Dakota, just a couple of hours away, about 2 or 3 hours away from Fargo. Not know which direction, but at least from Fargo. And of course, if you know anything about Fargo, it's one of those little towns. They're in the upper Midwest. But he is 6'5", 250 pounds. And of course, JT's family, it's kind of weird because if you look at his name, Rossi, that's pretty Italian there. And so you don't know there's not too many Italians that live in North Dakota. But his parents both work in the IT department and got these huge, big jobs. These new, there's some upcoming internet startups and stuff like that. And so they decided to move the family from New Jersey to North Dakota. So a bit of a culture shock for JT. He moved there about 4 years ago. Excuse me. And he said it was a big, huge culture shock. He's used to hearing loud noises and people arguing, the stereotypical type stuff you see from the New Jersey area. But so far he said he enjoys the small town atmosphere, but from time to time he likes to be in the big city. And so for college he wants to go somewhere, not necessarily back to New Jersey, but maybe somewhere a big college city town. And we'll see those options here in a bit. But really good kid. I mean, he's pretty much your basic. Your kind of a stereotypical defensive end. I believe he plays right end, but he can also play left. His family, he says he moved to the Silicon Valley of the prairie, or Silicon Prairie, he says, or at least that's what he's been told. Been very successful and very talented there as the player, or as a football player there. And he says that he feels like he wouldn't got maybe as much playing time and a much one-on-one attention when it comes to playing football for the coaches like that if he was still in New Jersey. So but he said that was the only big change, like I said, he says that is just getting used to everything being closed at a certain hour of the day. He says, you usually think there's, town's pretty quiet after 6 p.m. So it's kind of different for him. Some of the schools are looking at him as, of course, Party School. I think a school that he probably would enjoy. But that's University of Miami. They're in Florida. Also Michigan State. Looking at him, so they're trying to keep him, keep him a little closer. Michigan and North Dakota kind of have Minnesota in between them, and then of course Washington is looking at him, and he's a 4-star prospect there. And of course we will have him on our list there, as hopefully we can try to convince him to come to Highland and be a part of that. Be a part of the continuing history that we're trying to make here with a lot of these players that are coming in, and try to make this a household name when it comes to college football. So there you see DeRossi. There you see his nice squats there, 580, and there you see his 40 time, 4.8. So not the best 40 time, especially for his size there, but nonetheless, very athletic and talented kid who could really really be a monster for any of those 3 schools there, especially Michigan State and the U. The U, he could be the next player that can be turning things around and make the U a powerhouse again, like they were in the 90s. So but yeah, we'll see how that all plays out here. And like I said, we'll try to get him on our board there and try to get him signed and try to get a scholarship as quickly as we can to him here coming up. here in the next couple of weeks once we start our recruiting here. All right, so we got one more player left on this list here, and it is a quarterback here. And it's Declan Sinclair. He is from Lebanon, New Hampshire. I think that's how you say it. And he is a freshman. Or he'll come in as a freshman, I should say, next season. And Declan, he's pretty much a ladies' man. He actually started playing football pretty late in his high school career. He actually started just about his junior year, so about a year ago. And he started as a starter. Originally, he was he played a lot of baseball growing up, and of course he was being looked at by a lot of D2 schools that was wanting him to play baseball. A couple of D1 schools, not too many, but mainly some D2 schools, and especially around the New England area. I think Boston College was one of the D1 schools that offered him a baseball scholarship, and I think the other one was what was the other one there? It was Pitt. Was another one that offered him one. But after his his baseball coach told me, like, hey, you're doing really good here, playing baseball and stuff like that. He almost came close. He was thinking about actually doing the Tommy John surgery, but his parents convinced him not to do that. Just to avoid doing any kind of surgery. But a football coach seen him throw the football or throw a baseball around and see how well he was throwing the ball. And he's like, hey, ever thought about playing football? And this was his junior or sophomore year in high school, and he's like, well, no, football's really not my sport. But he's like, the coach told him, like, you got really good accuracy. I think you'll probably have just even better accuracy with a football. So he played it, threw a ball a couple times around with some quarterback or some wide receivers, and the receivers really, he made some new friends with some of the football players. Of course, he knew some of the guys were on the team already, but he said he was convinced by those guys on the team, and so he went ahead and decided to go ahead and try out football. And last year, actually threw 35 touchdown passes. And only had 5 interceptions all season long. So big ups to Declan Sinclair. Like I said, he is a bit of a ladies' man. His has a couple new amounts of girlfriends, nothing too serious. But of course, he's said he likes to date, likes to meet different girls, and not really settle down on just one. But he says hopefully go to college he can find that special someone. But there you see some of the schools already looking at him right now. He's, like I said, a 4-star caliber player. He's from New Hampshire, so of course he's looking like he's going to stay local. There you see Syracuse, Boston College, of course. So he could be that play both baseball and football if that is offered to him. And then of course Buffalo, looking at him as a potential quarterback there. And he's looking like he's a pocket passer with some of his abilities there. So yeah, talented kid there. A little cocky, but some would I think they would disagree, say that he's just very confident with himself. But we'll see how he goes there, and of course we'll definitely see. We're not really on his list of schools that he was wanting to go to, but we may make an attempt at trying to talk to him and kind of say some sweet things in his ear, try to convince him to come to Highland. But I think it'll be a bit of a long shot there. But again, just a player that you guys have submitted to this year's class, and like I said, we'll see. He's definitely, if he's a 4-star caliber, he's definitely be a guy that probably will sit out this next year, but then his sophomore year he could really take off and do something special. with his ability. So depending on where he's going to go at, he could make it his first year. But I think if any of those 3 schools there, if he's looking at those 3, any one of those 3 pick him up, he definitely would be playing his first year. If there's not anybody really that talented as ahead of him. But yeah, for the most part here, like I said, it's been a great, you guys did a great job here submitting these players. Of course, if you guys want to submit players for this time next year for this series, once we get through this season 6 here, I will let you guys know. You guys can, of course, submit them if you don't know about it, but we do have a Discord, so go there. You guys can drop those players' names in there. All you have to do is just copy and paste the application that's on there already, and just submit it. Or you can submit it here in this video here. I'll leave a little thing down below where you guys can copy and paste, and then just type in your information and just leave it here. And I'll leave it maybe underneath a pinned comment there. But yeah, thank you for everybody that submitted. We'll start season 1. It's coming up here very, very soon here, within the next day or 2. So stay tuned for that as we'll get ready for season number 6, and we'll be number 4 in the nation going into this season. So of course we won't be able to play a game. We won't play week 1 because we have a bye week, but we'll get right to week 2. There will be a preview video talking about the upcoming season. Of course, a preview at what we should expect in the first game of the season coming up here in the next video. But stay tuned for more here on the channel, as again, like I said, I cannot wait to start season 6 of this series. It's been a lot of fun. I cannot wait to continue this and get right back into it once again. But again, if you guys did enjoy today's episode, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't been new. Hit that bell notification so you guys can be notified of this series or any other series on the channel. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. Check us out also on Twitch, as we will be live streaming over there. Of course, we'll be live streaming on here on YouTube here very soon. I'll let you guys know when that happens. But here on Twitch, Thursday nights at 9 p.m., Friday afternoons at 1 p.m., and again Saturday nights at I believe at 10 p.m. on Saturday night. So definitely check it out. There's a link. There will be, of course, be a times down there for those live streams down below too. But again, guys, thank you so much for following us, and of course submitting the players there. And like I said, season 6 will start very, very soon here on the channel. Stay tuned for that. As always, keep yourselves and each other healthy, and I will see you guys next time.